So today I want to talk about the 1% rule. This is one of the most powerful concepts I believe we teach here at Fearless, and it's one of the easiest concepts not to use. It's so easy not to use that a lot of people just kind of forget about it because it doesn't seem like it has a huge impact. But the truth is, it has the biggest impact. So I really want you to pay attention to this. It's very powerful and very important. I used to really search for a big change in my life. I wanted a big change now. I wanted it overnight. I wanted it to be radical. And I was always searching. And because of that, I was always discounting every little bit of growth I got. It wasn't big enough. It wasn't good enough. You know, I did X, but I could have done Y. Why didn't I do Y? That was kind of the thought process in my head. If I went up and talked to a beautiful girl, and let's say we talked for 15 minutes, had a great conversation, but for some reason I didn't get her phone number. But at that time, I was only used to talking for maybe 10 minutes. And I got a little bit further, maybe 5 more minutes out of the conversation. And she walked away. I would beat myself up. I lost out. I missed out on I should have got her phone number. I should have pushed harder. I should have done X. I should have said Y. This is the type of thinking I have in my head. But in reality, I spoke for 5 more minutes. That's fucking beautiful, guys. If I acknowledge that in my mind, I see that as a success. We call that the 1% rule. Every little tiny success we celebrate. And if I celebrate that little success, what do you think my mind sees? You see, your mind expands, changes, and grows. And it basically expands based on what you're focusing on. So if I'm focusing on success after success, even if they're tiny, what does the mind do? It wants to expand more successes in my life. It wants to create more successes in my life. So the 1% rule became the key to my actually growing much bigger. I took a period of my life that was huge for me. And I spent about a year or so doing a lot of meditation, a lot of releasing processes, which you guys know. And I did it for several hours a day. And what I was doing in that period of my life was releasing, but sometimes the releases seemed so negligible, so small, they almost seemed completely insignificant. But I'd feel them happen. I'd feel this tiny bit of lighter inside myself. I'd feel this tiny bit of shift inside myself. And I would just keep going for another one. I would celebrate each little success along the way, no matter how small. And what happened was I kept getting more and more and more. And then there were days when it seemed like the whole world changed because I would get a whole bunch of changes at once. What was happening there? What was happening is something called compounding interest. Compounding interest is a powerful principle. If you double a penny every day for 31 days, how much money do you get? You get $10 million, over $10 million. And that's powerful when you realize it. That's the principle of compounding interest. Go ahead and look it up on the internet. Pull up a chart that shows somebody doubling a penny for 31 days. And what you're gonna see is powerful. You're gonna see that in the last week, really the last few days, is when all the magic happens. That's when everything rises up. And this is how we get our huge successes in life. It's through loving every little tiny success. Even if it's only 1% or 1/1000th of a percent. Doesn't matter how small the success is, those small successes lead to the quantum leaps, the giant changes in your life, the life-shifting results. When you think about it, a band like the Beatles worked for years playing in dingy little bars, not making any money, struggling, unknown name, and then one day, overnight, they seemed to have overnight success. Well, that's not overnight success. That's every day doing a little bit more and building on their skill set a little bit more, working on who they're being a little bit more, celebrating each success, and then one day they have a huge explosion of success. It creates the appearance of an overnight success, but it's not really an overnight success. When you're prepared, when your internals are prepared, when your externals are prepared, when you have been seeing success for years, when you've been believing in it and buying into it, even if it's only 1% of the time, the results eventually have to happen. That's what compounding interest is all about. Compounding interest works in multiple ways too. See, the 1% rule is this idea that we're going to accept success in its smallest form. It doesn't matter how small it is. Tiny little slivers, all we need. And that can work to serve you, and that can work to actually take you apart and destroy you. Some people have been doing compounding interest for years in the wrong direction. For example, the person that every day says, well, this McDonald's doesn't matter. These donuts don't matter. They're not going to matter. I'm not going to be any heavier tomorrow because I ate this. And that's true. And probably over the next few days, you're not gonna be that much heavier. You're not gonna be that much bigger. But you compound that over a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it can be radically damaging to your life. And that's how compounding interest works in reverse. So I want you to start asking yourself right now, where am I compounding my life in reverse? And how can I start compounding my life in the right direction? That gym exercise, that day you go to the gym that you say, you know what, I want to go to the gym today, but I'm going to skip it. It doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. Taking one day off doesn't matter. How much does it really matter? In the scheme of things, that could be the domino effect that causes you to miss the next 2 or 3 weeks. That one day didn't matter in the scheme of things, but it broke the chain. Wouldn't it be better if you got out, if you couldn't go to the gym, you didn't have the time, that you got out and you did something, anything to keep that consistency going, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and you normally work out an hour. This is what I'm talking about. Successful people get this. They show up anyways, and they do it anyways. And this is why so few people succeed in their own businesses, because they can't show up on a consistent basis. It's the number one problem of the unsuccessful. So I want to invite you into this idea of compounding interest. Start to change the way you look at women. When you go out and you approach a woman, if you get one, let's say you're used to only talking for 5 minutes and you actually talk to her a woman for 7 minutes, but you didn't get her phone number. Don't beat yourself up over that. Celebrate that you spoke for 7 minutes this time. And really start to look inside at what you just did and feel it. Because if you feel it by law of attraction, law of vibration, whatever you want to call it, whatever you focus on has to expand. So one success has to lead to more successes and more successes and more successes, and they compound. An example of this in nature is you can take 2 dots you can't even see with the naked eye, and you can bring them together, and you can create a whole human being, a sperm and an egg. And that's powerful when you think about it. A whole human being within 9 months from something you can't see with the naked eye. Just think about that for a while. Matter of fact, think about that every day for a while. Because right now it may not be hitting you, but that's huge. What about a spark? A tiny little spark, an inconceivable spark. If you take a cigarette lighter and you just make it spark, you don't even light it, that little spark can create a whole forest fire. And at first it seems like nothing, it's just a spark. But within minutes it can be out of control. That's powerful when you realize it. That's how life really works. It works off of the littlest tiny successes. And then compounding interest and your quantum leaps build up, and you start having one quantum leap after another quantum leap after another quantum leap, because you're used to acknowledging the subtle. So I want to invite you into this world of acknowledging the 1% in your life. And I want to invite you into this world of compounding interest. And I'm going to give you one more resource. To really understand this principle of compounding interest, I'm going to ask you to pick up a book. It's called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. This is the most powerful book I've read on compounding interest and understanding how to use it to create success in your life. Jeff Olson is a millionaire many times over. I've met the man. He's a very grounded, solid, masculine man, and he's trained lots of millionaires. And when I give this book to people to read, it can be life-changing for them. Jeff shows in here how you can, with really good illustrations, charts, stories, how you can compound anything in your life. You can compound your health, you can compound your success, you can compound into a fat belly, you can compound into a hospital, you can compound your life downhill too. And he shows how people do it on a daily basis and they don't even know they're doing it. Some people use this principle on a regular basis to create success and they don't know they're doing it because it's such a part of their unconscious mind. And when you see this principle at work, you'll see it in every successful person in the world, even the one that seems like he changes overnight. You'll see that every single person is using this principle to create their wealth, create their life, create their mind. One of the ways that you can use this is to compound your success by watching these videos every day. Sometimes watching this, if the one video has effect on you, watch it over and over for a week, for 30 days, until it's cemented in your subconscious mind. Not just my videos, any video, or any book, or any paragraph in a book, or any chapter in a book. Pick it, and if it's having a powerful effect on you, don't just read it once, read it over, because the compounding effect of repetition is huge on changing your unconscious mind. So this book is filled with stuff that you could read, like paragraphs, chapters, and you could pick one per week. You could read it for a whole week and just really sit with the feeling in it. Because if you get the feeling of what I'm talking about in your bones, where it's a part of who you are, then you're going to start to live it out. So I want to invite you to start looking at the 1% rule, this idea that the littlest change counts. Compounding interest, this idea that over time, compounding interest adds up and you start getting your quantum leaps. Not just one, but you start getting a bunch of them when everything comes together right. And on top of that, one I just mentioned at the end there, repetition. Using repetition to compound and to build on the 1% rule. Oh, and one more thing. Start acknowledging the tiniest success when you're out meeting women. Whether you approach them and one little thing goes better, write it down in a journal. Acknowledge it, celebrate it. Matter of fact, at the end of the day, after being out, celebrate every one of them. Laugh about them. If you got rejected really bad, but you took it better than you ever have, celebrate it. Because these are the marks of success that are taking you to the next level. So get out there, get into action, make stuff happen, compound, and use the 1% rule, use repetition, and change your life. Okay? So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment. We love your comments. We're always responding to them. And a lot of our videos that we create for this channel are based on the comments that you put in the comment section. So I'll be looking forward to hearing your comments. I also want to hear your opinion. How have you used the compounding interest principle to change your life in positive ways? And how have you used it to change your life in negative ways? Maybe in ways you didn't even realize. And put that in the comments too, because it's really powerful for people to hear this stuff and to see it and to see that other human beings are living this, okay? So I'll be looking for that in the comments. Now, with that said, remember, only the confident really live. I'll see you in the next video.